Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. At CloudFoundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
You are going to fetch observation resource from the CDR. This is the CDR. You are going to pull observation resource, but you don't know nothing. You know nothing about observation resource. You know something about patient resource, and observation refers to patient. And you are working on observation resource. In your query, it is base URL/. It is observation/. Then you are knowing something about patient resource. It is direct. It is from observation. You're going to patient. That is the direct reference. When you know something about patient and you're working on patient, you want to pull something for that patient and you want to pull patient based on some criteria of the observation. At that point of time, it is reverse chaining because the referencing works like this. It is observation is referencing to patient. Patient never reference to observation. It is the reverse chaining. You are working on patient, but you know something about the observation. Makes sense? We'll talk about more in detail. First concept, what we learned is chaining. Now anybody who will, I think a guru already told that we are working on observation resource, but we don't know anything about observation resource. What we did is we did chaining. And I have already told, chaining will always work on the reference data. You need to find the attribute and very important part. When I say very important part, what I was about to say is when we say that chaining will always work on reference data type. That attribute should have reference data type. It also means that, for example, subject is working on reference data type. But if subject is not available as a search parameter, then this is not the attribute which you can use. Is this point clear, guys? If subject is not a searchable parameter in this list, for example, it should be somewhere patient.subject. It is here and it is patient. There is one more patient subject, directly patient subject, and it is subject. That means if this was not present as a part of list, you cannot use this attribute for chaining. It has to be a searchable parameter. That is where the query which you are hitting will work on the CDR. Now going back to the next one, the outcome of this was only observation resource. What we are saying, the CDR is, I know the MN of the patient. Can you just do one thing for me? Can you just pull me the observation resource for this patient? ID. This is where you got one observation resource where it says I think it is for height. Scroll down. It is body height for this particular patient. And what is this? Is this the MN of the patient? This is ID for the patient, logical ID where the resource has been kept. Now moving to the next advanced concept where why we added. I'll give you two examples. Why we added name of the resources. Because if you go to the specification of observation and we found that subject is something which is a search parameter also and it is of reference data type, we can use subject for chaining. But if you look over here, right, subject can refer to patient group. Device or location group also contains identifier. Device also contains an identifier. Location resource also contains an attribute known as identifier. To tell which resource particularly you are referring, you are just as I said, this is optional. Even if you don't write, it will give you an answer. If I just remove this, it will still give you an answer. Here it becomes confusing that which resource it has to find. That is where it is always better to give. This is not type. You need to think about two things. Let me where we created a. What we are doing is, let me put forward what we are searching. In this case, it is not searching for this type. It is searching for identifier.value. It is not looking for type. For identify the type you need to check. And considering identify is and you want to search for a specific identifier and it should be of type MR. You need to find a search parameter whether type is searchable or not. Let's see if type is searchable. Again, you don't have to remember whether type is searchable or you just have to scroll. Considering this is repeating. Consider this is a driving license of the patient, which is patient giving at the time of registration. If you follow, it is or you can find. Either with this you can find, either with this, whichever matches, it will give you it will. It will find it in the entire list. When I say list, it is the object over here, the array object. It will find in all the objects. Wherever it will find, it will give you the search. Those sort of things are not documented. This is just even if you that question might come to a fresher when he is working in FHIR, considering I have two objects within identifier. If can I search with first one instance? Can I search the second instance? Answer is, when you will do hit and trial, then you will understand. I don't if I will search always with all the objects within the array. It is just you just have to pass on the value. Considering the second part which you said, Arseny, I will just give you an example for your understanding. PID segment, we learned you were there in the HLS and V2 classes. Not sure, I've not seen one. Or HLS V2 as a standard. S7V2 is also a healthcare standard. The messages will look something like this. It is not a FHIR standard. It is a separate standard which looks. I will just copy some part of it. It works on segments. Considering what is going to happen is this information is flowing from hospital. Hospital is saying, can you convert my HL7V2 data to FHIR over here? This is considering, this is the given name. AS5.2 is the given name. Here cells will come. That is where the same value will go in your given name. It is not like you will create the same value somewhere like this and then J will go as your middle name. Then this is your J. You will not create that space thing and all. It is the server who has to name given is hold. I mean given holds your middle name and your given name. Given can search any of the array list which is present in the CDR. Either you search with J, either you search with Sahel, space S dot. That is what you can do. It is always the key which you have to use. This is just a reference pointer that what it is going to search you. This is the key which you have to use. We can, that is your option, that fires is, this is the patient.name. It will search in entire. See again, I'm not creating this one. It is your use case. Now I have given you an example that Jodo comes into picture. You don't know what is the first time. You don't know what is the last name. You can definitely go ahead and say name is equal to Joe. It will search either Joe is the first name or Joe is the last name. It will give you a response where the patient resource contains Joe as the first name or Joe as the last name, or even prefix suffix. If you have that context, if you definitely know that given name is this, family name is this, then why do you want to complicate the FHIR search using name? You already know a search criteria which is saying given is this family, is this? No, it will only search in the given. Given says it will search in patient name. Given that is the expert, not in family for family. They have given a separate one. It says patient name, family, and it is the family keyword. Then the CDR behavior is wrong. You can raise a bug on the CDR. Definitely. You can raise a bug on the CDR, but before raising a bug, kindly check because see, FHIR is a standard. Someone is adopting that standard and they tweak the standard. I will give you one example. We have a CDR. When we worked with that CDR, we encountered that only. The identifier use. There is an identifier.use. They have marked. One identifier needs to be usual. Other all identify needs to be secondary. That is the internal behavior they have added. That is not the FHIR constraint that says it has to be like this. We first encountered this issue and we were struggling to see what is the problem. Then we reached out to the edges. We reached out to the CDR team. Then they said, this is what you should do. It will work. Then we asked for a documentation. Where is this written? Then they said it is the old implementation. Some old architect did it. Now this is a bug they have raised and they accepted it and now they're reverting it back. People will definitely build a CDR using the FHIR standard, but there might be bug. There might be constraints they add. Before raising or doing something, please check what is the valid behavior on their side. Any other questions before we start with what is the next concept? If not, then yesterday, the first concept. I will extend the first advanced query. Our first I do once query was, can we get an observation resource? Considering Amarin. IBT 1023 is the Amarin of the patient who is sitting in front of doctor. And a doctor say at the patient is saying, can you pull my observations and see what is the issue which I am facing? He will give the Amarin, and considering this is patient resource, you can give the name of the patient also. You can add any search parameter which is available now in patient, because now you are in patient resource. I was just giving you an example because we just built a query for the Amarin. You can use name, gender, date of birth, any. You can add ampersand also. That is also fine. Now considering second part of it, where what is going to happen is you got the observation resource. If I hit here, you are definitely getting an observation resource. Over here, if you see you got observation resource, is there a query or is there I do one query where I can get both in single query? I want to work on observation resource and currently we found that whatever we rewrite here as observation, we are getting observation. But is there a way I can get patient resources is that patient can see doctor can see my demographics? Answer is definitely yes. The concept is _include that you can include another resource which is being referenced here. Over here you are working on observation resource. Correct. And you know something about patient resource. Patient resource is being referenced in observation resource via subject attribute. Now, what does this include? And how this include works? Include query works on 3 parameters. The syntax is include equal to. Now there are 3 parameters :B, :C. What not can see is resource name, who is initiating the reference. Anybody who will tell me? In our case, it is observation resource. We have a patient resource who is initiating the reference to whom? Anyone, or I will ask questions. Can anyone tell me why this is observation? It is not clear to me. I was saying the syntax of underscore. We are working on the second advanced query, where the first advanced query we did was VR. We pulled the observation resource based on the parameters of patient resource. Now we got only the observation resource. Now my concept is, can I get the observation resource and the patient resource? The concept is underscore include. The syntax is something like this, where I have told that resource name who is initiating the reference. Someone told it is observation, but I think it is incorrect. Anyone who will say this is correct and give me patient? It is patient. What I'm saying is the syntax is include a :B, :C. I is resource name who is initiating the reference. I got 2 options. Anyone who will still add another option, or considering this string, what should be a observation or patient? Anyone who thinks it is patient, and anyone who thinks it is observation, and why it is observation? Yes, that is where the option will have the value of observation. Now B, name of the attribute using which the reference is initiating, and it should hold the reference data type, and it should be a searchable parameter. And we have already worked on subject, and it is a searchable parameter. C is optional, and it will only come into picture where the reference considering this subject is referring to multiple resources. In that case, you need to tell which particular resource you are looking for. See, anyone who will tell me if I'm writing C, what it will be? It will be patient, because we are asking it to include the patient resource. Your query will be something like this. It will be observed, it would be a CRV observation : subject : not dot : patient. This is the parameter. Now you need to add, and the query will look something like this along whatever is written here. What we will do is we will add %, because query parameters are separated using %. Considering this is the query, and I have written the same thing. I will showcase this later. I will just use a subject : patient. I think now was something different. What is the meaning? I'll use this meaning. Now, if I click on hit send, what is going to happen is over here. It says it is only one result set found. But Sahil was saying you will get 2 resources. Let's see whether we got 2. But if you got 2, why this is one entry? There is one observation resource. Now if I close this entry, the second object says there is a patient resource also that, but why then it is 1? Total is 1, because this is working on another concept which is saying that the query, if it matches. I will show you one concept. Once you find a research or once you find a search response from the CDR, it will tell you what is the mode, whether it is the match mode or it is an include mode. Whenever it will be a search mode here and it says match, that is where the total count will increment. It is 1 and include is we have forcefully asked CDR to please give me a patient resource also, or I would say include patient resource also, that I can see the patient demographics also. And in this case, the search mode says include. Whenever include is added to the bundle, it will not increment the total count even by 1. It is just one resource, which is the observation which is returned in the total value. That is why it says 1. Any questions? Why it is 1? If not, then we will move to the next query. This is how you can pull both observation and a patient. Going back to the second one, I think the same concept with someone told, can we work on patient resource and get the patient resource based on something which we don't know about patient, but we know something about observation. Considering there is an observation resource which is having a reference to the patient. Let's see. Now, doctor, the use case is a cardiologist. This is reverse tuning. I don't want to add this parameter as of now. This cardiologist is sitting in a hospital. He has some free time. He just want to look for all the patients who has heart rate observation. In this case, he is not bothered about any details of the patient, or he is not having any details of the patient. He just know that a patient will have a heart rate observation and he will be my patient. Considering it is only one cardiologist sitting in that hospital. Considering that, as I expect when that concept comes into picture, you want to pull all the patient records, but you don't know anything about patient. But you know something, that there is observation for a patient and observation refers to patient. Now going back to the example, you want to work on patient resource and you know something about observation resource, but reference goes like this. It is reverse chaining. How reverse chaining works? You need to use a concept of underscore as we are working on patient resource. There is a concept of underscore has same concept. Who is initiating? That is the first one is 3 parameters. The name of the resource, who is using or who is initiating the reference. Then second one is code. Second one is subject. Subject is using what attribute you are initiating the reference and it is subject. Third one from the same resource. What is the search parameter you're using? It is code. We are saying the code for heart rate is 8867-4. This is the query. What is prepared and you can just if you hit it on send. You can see all the patients which are there in the C, D, R and has heart rate. It is present in observation. I will showcase. Just give me 1 second. I will just do another query for you that you understand. Consider this is a patient and logical ID is 1. I will just do one thing. I'll just pull that patient for you that you can see. Hopefully there is only one. Over here, observation resource. If you see the screen, this is observation resource. Observation resource has an attribute code and code will tell you what is the type of observation. In this case, it is as we discussed, we are writing an API for cardiologist. Cardiologist works on heart. He is worried about heart rate observations. All the heart rate observation resources for which are built using observation will have a code attribute and will have a code which will say 867-4, and it is a standard code from Loin dictionary. It is a billions of codes are present in this dictionary for different set of observations. This is the code what we used in our reverse chaining, and we told we are looking only for patient. But what we want is there is something in the observation resource. I know. And based on that, I want to pull all the patient who has those observations. This does not mean that the response, what we got, there are only these many patients. There are different patients who have different set of observations. But what patients we pulled? We are only pulling the patients who have heart rate observation and code. And this is if you just do a FHIR search. There is a FHIR search. It's a very huge page, a very informational page which is available, and you can use that page for doing all of this. I told you chaining. I told you underscore has everything is mentioned here. Now we will look into reverse include. Now extending this query where I am seeing the FHIR server. Let's see. I am seeing the FHIR server that whatever observations you are pulling, can you also pull the patient also? I will just, for example, over here, there will be a lot of patients which will be pulled. Let's see if there is any response to this query. First, because the CDR usually clears the query. Let's go back here only then. We pulled all the patient resources who has observation. Now what I am saying to the CDR is, can you also pull the observation resource? Considering we are working on patient and we need to pull the observation also. The chaining will be reverse chaining because observation refers to patient and we are working on patient resource. This is not the parent. Parent is this now. This is the concept where reverse chaining comes into picture. So, reverse include comes into picture and same syntax it holds. Who is initiating the reference observation? Using what attribute it is initiating the reference and subject colon. Now, what is the third resource? Patient. You will find the observation resource also included as a part of patient resource. It will be a big list. If you want a smaller list, what we can do is this will give you a limited set over here. If you see, this is one patient resource. I added one last criteria. Probably there will be one or more observation resource present for this patient. Makes sense. I think this is something which Snehal asked me yesterday, that if I got a query that where there are more result sets. It is on the same line, Snehal, that I pulled in the. If you are seeing my screen, I will do a Ctrl Z. I pulled all the patients and all the observations for that. In this case, what is going to happen is let me do Ctrl N. I am pulling. This is a CDR. I will create. This is patient 1. This is patient 2. This is patient 3. This patient can have n number of observations, considering this is observation 1, observation 2, observation 3. This is also patient as n number of observations, observation 1, 2, 3. Another n number of observations. The outcome of the queries. Considering all of these are heart rate observations. The outcome of that query. Who will tell me the outcome of that query? There are 3 patients and 9 observations. What will be the outcome of our query? That the query what we run, where we are saying we are pulling all the patients who has heart rate observations and also include the heart rate observations for the patient. It will give all 3 patients and all the observations. Now considering, I am only interested in one of the patients. If I am interested in one of the patient, what I did was I got the entire result set. Either you can use now something from patient resource because you are already in patient. Now what I did was I will go to the patient resource. If you know that I am only looking for the patient who's identified as this, or you know the name of the patient, you can directly say I want to limit the search and you can just say this is family. You can just say family is equal to this. And it will give you only for that particular patient and that particular observation. This is a patient and we give us the results at Ibarra. And this is a patient resource. And if I just minimize it, this is your might be. There are more observation because I didn't restrict on observation. I told for this particular patient, if you have n number of heart rate observation, please give me all the observations. This is the concept of reverse chaining and reverse include. Any questions? Because now another concept will come into picture. I will just talk some few basic concepts. Any question? If no, then I have one very basic knowledge sharing thing, which is that this is, you are doing a get call. And Sahil saying that CTRR works on XML, JSON and Turtle. Is it possible that Sahil is always getting JSON? But in my context, if there is a requirement, I'm saying if there is a requirement, can I get the answer in XML or in Turtle format? If JSON is required by default, CDR will always give you in JSON. But is there a way I can tell that my request is in JSON even if you're posting, but you want a response in XML? This is a basic thing which is there in API terminology. Except is a keyword. Sorry, there is a typo. Except is a keyword or a header which holds a property. If you're working on actual FHIR CDR server, the value will be. If you're actually working on a CDR server, it will be application / FHIR JSON FHIR plus X and FHIR plus Turtle. This is also an exam question. This is what you need to send. Here Postman does something of his sort. Even if you let's try if this works. If you give something like this and you just say I need output. When you say accept, it means that you accept data in the XML format. Let's see if it accepts in XML. This is the way you can tell the FHIR server that I am expecting the response in the XML format. JSON seems to be pretty easy. This is the way the XML data comes out. If you like reading the XML better, then please go ahead and work on XML. I think for Turtle it is Turtle or RDF. Let's try title URTLE or RDF. Let me check what is the right one. Turtle work. If you want in the Turtle format, this is how it will look like. I have limited knowledge on Turtle. I will not go in details, but this is a concept which I wanted to tell that you can tell the FHIR server even if you're creating a resource. For example, here, bundle. I think we were posting a bundle resource. We are always posting in JSON. If you're posting in XML and you need to then pass a header which will say content, and you need to tell application /HIR plus XML, that CDR will understand what is the model construction model you have used for creating the resource and what is the format he can accept. Now let's look into a couple of more advanced concepts before we move to bundle concept, which we will be learning today. There is something known as wait. Let's go back here. Here, I will not do a get call, I'll just do a post. Let's see what is there. Guys, any questions? Or this was too difficult for you? Now the concept which I'm going to teach you. These concepts are mostly used because you don't want to create duplicates in the CDR. I will take the examples. Let me just first considering this. Let's use a new one. Something I just used a random identifier. Now what is? I will make a post call. This concept is not used as it is. This is used in the bundle concept, but you should know the base, how this concept works. Now, I have already told you that there is a patient resource which you are going to create. Let's consider the patient resource is create. The data is flowing from the hospital information system. And consider, let's give you an example. A gender, let's say this person was female. By mistake, the hospital receptionist selected female from the drop-down and the data came to your integration layer. You created a FHIR bundle out of it and now you have posted the data. Now another, what is going to happen is if they're going to update the data from there. How do you think we will be working on just saying male and it will say considering? It has said 2T1. It has created this. If I do post again, it will create another resource for me. What it means is one resource is wrong, one resource is right. Is there a way I can tell the CDR, just please do some preconditions before you create the data in the CDR? Is there a way? The answer is yes. There are two ways you can tell the CDR. That please check couple of preconditions before you create the data in the CDR. One is known as conditional. Create. People call it conditional update. Sorry, conditional update not updated. Another one is known as conditional create or post. People call it as two terms. For upper one, it is only one. Let's look into what is conditional create or post first. Now let's go back to conditional create. Let's see what example is here. Here also what I'm doing is, let's go back. Let's create a new identifier. I added a new identifier. Now very important part, how will you tell the CDR that you want to do some preconditions, and if that precondition passes, then only you create this patient. Now conditional create means you are going to tell CDR using a header which says if none exists, then only create this resource. In this case, what you do is you pass if none exists and then a search parameter with a value. And if this is true, which means this search criteria didn't match, then only the resource would be created. Otherwise, this request will be just set as success, but there will be no action taken on top of CDR. Let's see how this is done. Considering this is a patient resource I have created, how do you tell the CDR that I want a precondition? I have already told you it is a header. Here the header says if none exist, and in this case we are using identifier which is going to be unique for a patient, and we have added identifier as HTT:/AB cog/ patient identifier. This is the same way we write the token data type. Token data type says system pipe value. That is what I have written. Now what is going to happen is my payload also holds this value. If this string is not present in any of the patient resources existing in the CDR, then this resource will be created. If you do send, then it should say 2T1 and it has given me a logical ID. This means it has created a new resource. If you do send again, if it gives you 200, that means no action has been taken by the CDR. If you see, the logical ID is still the same, 14868. Any questions? What is if none exist or conditional, create or post? If not, then let's look into what is that we are doing. Now I think I spoke about there is a delete which is always a soft delete. What is going to happen over here is I'll fetch a patient resource. I think the ID was some of the IDs. One is there. Let's see. There is a patient resource with ID 1. Can I delete this resource? Answer is definitely yes. Please go ahead and make sure. You will never be asked to delete a resource because it is all clinical data, all interlinked. But you should know the concept. If you delete a resource, there is all references found. We need to find a patient resource where you understand all of this right. That if a resource is having a reference, you need to delete that reference resource first and then come back and delete this resource. Let's see if any reference is there. We can delete this resource 14A66N. We can delete this resource because there is no reference present. It says 200. Here somewhere it will be saying successfully deleted one resource. Somewhere more information. It deleted in 4 milliseconds. Beautiful. Now when I will do a get call, what is going to happen? Will it give me data? It will just tell you that the data has been deleted at this particular time frame. Now, how do you get this data back? If you just do _history, this is where the resource comes into picture, that now you found that this resource was deleted and there was this resource which was created. How do you get back this resource? You need to do a put operation on this resource. How do you do it? You need to do a put operation, then only you will get the as per FHIR standard. What FHIR says is, even if you are not maintaining the history, meaning you are not maintaining the older version, you should be only working on the latest version. Whenever I will ask you the information, just let me know the latest information. FHIR is not forcing you to maintain the history. It is on the CDR. You need to check for the capability statement, which is the next topic here. We will just talk about what is capability statement. You need to look into the capability statement. What is the capability offered by the CDR to the implementers, and based on it, you will be able to derive whether it is maintaining the history or not. By default, whether the CDR will maintain the history again. Answer is yes, no, or maybe. Who will tell the right answer? Either you directly talk to the CDR folks or what FHIR says is an interesting topic. FHIR says that you should host the CDR should host a capability statement which will tell the implementer what is the capability of the FHIR server. We will talk about it in just 5 minutes after we finish this concept. Here the concept is you can find the history and then you can just directly do the update on this patient. I think this patient already existed. We will directly do it here only. Now, if you for doing the update, you ought to need to do is put and you need to do 488067 and you need to add an ID attribute which will tell the CDR that the logical ID is already there. Fourteen 1867 and now if you do a hit, you have updated it, and now if you try to do a get on this, let's see. Now, if you do, let's first do a get over here. I will remove this resource. Now let's see what it says. It should say that resource is retrieved. Version history is 3. Now which version considering, which history consider? If you want to know what all changes have been done on this resource, you can tell history, then you can tell the version also. This is how you can tell that I want the first version. This is the version 1. You want second version. I think the second version was the deleted one. Let's see. It says operation outcome resource was deleted at this time. This is the second version. What is the third version? The third version is the updated version. On the same lines, you can figure out, consider someone behind the scenes. Someone updated the resources. You want to track what all changes have been done on the resources. You can use the history and based on the version, you can track it. Next concept is capability statement. I think we are almost about to end the FHIR sessions also. Last session would be the tomorrow's session, where we will cover a use case and the bundle concept. Here the capability statement is, I have been talking about this. Nobody asked me. Then whenever we are sending the data, how is the CDR validating? Or we'll go back there. We will go there later. Or let's talk about this one. How do I know that CDR which I'm working on can support patient resource? Can I read a patient resource from CDR? Can I write a patient resource? Can I do a patch operation on CDR resource? How do we know that? That out of 145 resources, let's see scroll up resources. Out of 145 resources which are listed in this big grid, is it mandatory for the CDR to host or support all the resources? Answer is no. FHIR says, even if you just support a capability statement resource, that is good enough. You don't have to support all of them. Now let's talk about, let's say in the capability statement, you found that patient resources supported. How do I know that? Can I do a read-write operation on it? Which all search parameters? Patient resource, we found there are 10-20 search parameters. Will FHIR server is supporting all the search parameter? Answer is definitely you need to look into the capability statement. Now, what is this? Capability statement. And where I can find the capability statement. Very interesting, very huge resource which you will get as an output. You need to do a metadata call on the FHIR server base URL. This is the base URL of the FHIR server. And if you do a metadata, If this is an internal strength to FHIR, if you send metadata, you will get a resource which is known as capability statement as an outcome. It is a huge resource. I'm definitely telling you, it's a huge resource. Very, very big, because it will tell you what is supported, what is not supported. You need to look into it slowly. It is not like in one shot. You will be understanding this resource. Starting with it, this is the software details. Another thing, someone who will tell me how did they come up with this structure. And why this is ID? Why this is name? Can I get on a different FHIR server as a family name here? Or status to be something. Pre-status date to be to date of birth. Publisher to be I am the publisher. Can I get any different attribute on a different FHIR server? It is identified in the resource, and capability statement is also a resource with the similar specification which we have already learned, that there is a grid, there are attributes, there are flags, there is a cardinality, there is some data types and some description. And you know how to read and write a specification now. On the same lines, if you just scroll down, I will just talk about over here. If you see, this is what I was saying. This is how FHIR server understands the MIME type. This is in actual technical terms. This is known as a MIME type, or people call it as headers also. Now, this is from here it is starting. It is starting from resource account. What all things? This is a base. I will talk about this profile later. Let's not go there. Interaction. Interaction will tell you what is. Let's talk about patient. You might be interested in patient, or it will be easier for you to understand patient. I am in patient. It says I will not talk about profile. It is a different concept. Interaction, you can create it, you can delete it. It says history is also maintained. Type, patch, read, update. Search type is all there. Conditional create, update. You learned just right away. Conditional delete. Deleting on some conditional parameters. Now this is where, if you have a question whether the search parameter which I'm going to use is supported in the FHIR server or not, this is where you can find all of them. Reverse include, you can use this. Now scrolling down, there will be search parameters also. Here it starts with here. You can search based on language. How come they use this language? This is a search parameter available within the FHIR patient resource under search parameter section. Do you remember I told you birth date is a search parameter? On the same lines, diseased address state. All of these are search parameters, and slowly, if you read everything, you will understand. That capability statement will tell you what all resources are supported, what all operations you can do, what all search parameters are also supported. This is a resource, very important resource. People usually ask in the FHIR exam question which resource is used by the FHIR server to host its capability. It is actually capability statement resource. Any questions? What is this capability statement? If no, then I was looking into this flags. I remember one more concept. I might not have a query, but I will just show you a very basic concept. I will go back to the patient resource only. If you remember, I told you a concept that there is a summary flag. There is a summary flag. FHIR says that that is a good to have attribute within the resource. Any query which I can perform on the summary flag, Any query, you might not use it in your daily day in, day out activities, but any CHIL told identify as a summary flag name is having a summary flag. Telecom has a summary flag. Anything which I can do on top of it. Let's see what best you can do. I will tell you I will open this query. I will just do a get call. Now, if you want to tell the FHIR server that you want a patient resource, let's consider. I think there is a patient resource, something like this. Let's see. Did we get anything? Where is that? We did some patient right. MMRIB something or this patient. This postman is working very slowly. If I'm working on this patient resource, can I just ask the FHIR server, just give me you're returning me the patient resource, but I'm not interested in all the attributes. Do you have a provision to provide me? You are always saying that there is a summary flag. Summary flag, it is good to populate. Do you have an API which will only list down the summary attributes for me? The answer is yes. And the parameter is underscore summary equal to true. If you scroll down, you will only find, considering that data set, what was posted. Let me give you an example. Considering the data set, what was posted? The birth or marital status is also posted, but in the outcome you will not find this marital status because you have said that you only want attributes which hold the summary flag. Guys, is this query clear? Now talking on the same lines, is there a separate query? I will talk about the same instance. There is something. What is this? There is some attributes present in the resource. Is there a query? I'm not sure if this server supports it. I have not tried it. Is there a query where you can tell, or is there a search parameter or a parameter using which you can tell that I'm looking for a patient resource with this identifier and I don't want all the attributes. I want only limited set of attributes. Can I tell the FHIR server only give me identifier name? The answer is, I think it is element or elements. Just let me give it a try, guys. I don't remember the right keyword, but I will just let you know. Let's see. This FHIR server is not supporting. There is an attribute which says element, and if you provide the list of elements using a comma separated value, it will give you the resource only using that set of attribute. But here it is giving everything. Let me search in my. No, this is itoad name, right? It is. Identifier is also coming. Name is also coming. This is where you can give a number of attributes and it will only return that set of attribute. Again, it is nothing to remember. Everything is present in a page which is a search page. Elements. If you go, all of this is already mentioned. I am just using the concept to explain what it means. It was elements, not element. That is why the first query didn't work for us. Moreover, why for me the CDRAR should have thrown an error that element is not a search parameter and it is a public server. That is where the outcome didn't throw me an error. It just gave me a partial result based on the first search parameter. But on the strict FHIR server, you should get an error. That element is not a search parameter. Any questions? If not, then there is a small concept of a patch is rarely used. I have kept one example, a very rarely used concept. I will show you the concept. And there is an API documentation. It is in a separate way. What I am doing over here is, let me just show you. First, there are two concepts we will cover after this. One is we are looking for patch. Another one is your contain. And the next one will be the bundle concept. Now over here, let's say we got a resource and we just want to update one of the value. Now, rather than building the entire thing, can I just update this status? Let's see procedure, what all statuses are there. Procedure file R. If I just want to update one operation, you can definitely use this update. Build the entire resource and just say status is now a new status value. But is there a different way to do it? Let's say it is completed. Let's mark it as completed. Now there is an existing resource where it is in progress. I want to use patch operations. Patch is always working on operations. There are different operations defined. I will give you a URL. You can read about it. There are different operations. You can add an element also. Then the operation will be add. This is the path which attribute under procedure you want to change. And what is the value? This is the new value I am giving. This is all the syntax I just copied from the sorry. This is wrong. Completed we want to put. Now, if you just do a patch operation, very important, it has to be a patch operation. And if you just do a send, it is saying it is 200. And now, if you do a get call over the bundle, it should mark this as done. This is get call. This is a send. This is saying it is marked now as completed. Let me just give you some documentation of this. There is this one. This URL is the one. I will put it in the chat window. There are different patch operations, different patch modes. Actually, one is replace, one is add, there is a remove. All of these are there. You just have to look into the structure. I just copy-pasted one and I tried. It is working. And it is a rarely used concept. This is from here. I have just copy-pasted one of the query. I just tweaked it into what I want to do and it worked for me. These are all the operations you can try. This is same concept. I don't know what is test. You might read it. Remove, add, replace, move. Copy is something which you can read from this list, and it should work for you. I have sent the link for your reference. You can just give it a try. It is the official patch operations link. What it does, how it does, you can definitely look into it. What is the first parameter? What is the value of the second parameter? What if there are trials? You can add the trials also, something like this. All of this is already mentioned. You just have to hit and trial for the patch thing. Next one is R. I go here. A small concept which is known as another referencing concept. Referencing a FHIR ENCIG concept, which is contained rarely used. I will tell you why it is rarely used. Let me show you an example also. Contained. Contained here. I'm looking for documentation. There is a documentation for contained. I will show you the examples. Source is it here. Let me find them. It's a referencing concept. It should be under references. Contained resources. For examples, you can go here. I will just teach you the concept. What is contained? We looked into. Let's go back to the patient resource. I think there is a condition resource example given. I will go back to condition FHIR R4. We will showcase an example what is given in this page also. Let me show you also. Over here, there is an example given. We will definitely look into this example, but let's first understand what is this contained all about. Why is Ailey saying it is rarely used and not a good approach for referencing? What happened? Research. Condition. If I go to condition resource, you have already understood how to read a specification, and we understood that out of 145 resources, 3 resources does not follow domain resource. But in this case, this is following domain resource, and you will get a provision to write a contained attribute. What is this contained now? Now let's see, what is this contained? Considering we are working on condition, resource type is condition. Now let's go back. Let's say we populated. If I go back, I'll just sit back here once. Let's say we populated n number of attributes considering. I will just take an easy one and then I will move to the example. Let's say I populated identify. Let me copy one identify from here. Again, I'm not writing anything, or I will do one thing. I will use the examples. What are given here? J's. I will just copy the clinical status and I am looking for verification status, and I think this is good enough for me for my condition resource. Now let's see, what is this contained? I have created. This is what I wanted to create in my condition resource. Now very important aspect. As I said, condition resources are adhering to domain resource. That is the way you get a provision to write contained there. Once you have a privilege to write contained, and you can write it at the parent level anywhere. You wrote contained. Anyone who will tell me how do we write contained? It is another attribute, the same concept. Left to right, it is repeating. It is square bracket. Now, when it is a square bracket and it says resource, wherever you will find it says resource, not this resource. It says resource and it says contained in line resource. It means you can write any resource out of 145 resources present as part of R4 release. How do you write a resource? You write a resource like this. Now let's consider the example, what they are also going to write. They are working on practitioner resource. Now I am going to write a practitioner resource. I have to open practitioner resource. And the concept is why you use contained only if you don't want to write a separate resource and then provide a referencing. Here the concept is you don't want to write a separate resource. And second concept is you have very minimal information about the second resource. That is not will make more sense to the end application. And you are opting for contained thing. Now let's go back to do they have JSON example. Same example I'm also taking. They have written condition resource contained. They've entered. They are writing practitioner resource. Now what example I'm giving you is they are only worried about a small list of attributes. Consider this name. This name I have populated. Now for this, they thought it is not feasible to create another resource and then do the referencing part. What they did is they used or opted for contained as a mechanism, which is another referencing mechanism. Now, what is going to happen is here you opt now. How did I know that name? Can I write? It is within the specification of practitioner resource. Within practitioner resource, if you go, there is an attribute name. How do you write name? It is another attribute going from left to right, looking into the cardinality, looking into the data type. You wrote name. Now, how do you tell that this is contained or this is referenced within condition? The concept is you need to create an attribute which is ID and you can give any random thing here. You can also say Sahil but with the prefix hash. You can also give anything and everything is. Preferred one is quid, but it is if you give anything and everything. As I've given Sahil here now, once you are out here, you are out back in the condition resource. Now you have to go back to the condition resource. And you need to find attribute which has the reference to practitioner. If I go back to condition resource, scroll down. If I go back to condition resource, I found where is it? This is which one? This is condition. If I scroll down, do you see anywhere practitioner? I can see there is a active practitioner. Is there anything? Which one? This is R5. I will to R4. I think there is an asserter. That is the example they have also given. There is an asserter which says it has a reference to practitioner. You can use recorder also. Now, how do you? You are back in the practitioner resource. You can write double quotes ASSERTER:. Then it is non-repeating. Now you have to look into the data type. Data is complex. I know that reference data type is complex. Now here, if you go to reference data type and you need to pick the reference, here you will pick to FHIR and you just have to say in double quotes hash Sahil, not at the rate, it is hash. This way, the CDR will note that there is a prefix hash, which means the resource is contained within itself. And you will be able to create a resource and there will be a reference to this resource for a practitioner resource, just like you just wanted the minimal information. But only con or a drawback using this content is the chaining, reverse chaining, what we do. For example, you want to know who gave this condition to this practitioner who gave this condition to this patient. Who is the practitioner for this? Those sort of chaining, reverse chaining, will never work on it. For that you need a separate resource. Here it is contained. That is where it is just holding your information, but it will not work for you. Now considering the same example, the concept, I think the payload I have already copied. Here it has to be hash. Hash is missing. Now, if I just send it, it will be capable of accepting the payload. It says today when created. And the payload is created using the reference also. Only drawback. I have already told you you cannot work on chaining, reverse chaining, if the data which you know is contained within the resource. Any question? What is this contained? Any questions? If no, then I will move to a bundle concept. I just have one. This is a good example also. Any issues, any questions, concerns? The concept of now we are going to learn is today we will close after bundle. The concept is a bundle concept. Anyone? I think Asani has already pitched in what is bundle. I will not talk to you Asani now. Anyone who will tell me what is their understanding of a bundle, not a FHIR concept. If I tell you that there is a bundle, I will tell you 2000 rupees per bundle. What is the understanding? Anybody who will tell me? It is now with respect to money. You should definitely answer. Collection of something is definitely a bundle. Yes, exactly. In this, when you are working on FHIR, you work with resources. What do you think will be collection? Bundle of resources. How do you think I have just kept a cache sample? I will brief you about the sample. You can rewrite it very easily. What do you think? Is there a specification given for this? Bundle is also another resource where the specification is already given. If you go to bundle, resource specification is already given. You can opt for anything. Again, starting with the resource type, bundle type, you can pick anything. You can populate identifier also. Any identifier for the bundle you can create in the sample which I am showcasing, and you know how to create a data type now. This is mandatory. That is why I am the example which I am showcasing. It is populated, and most of the time when you are creating a bundle of resources, it will always be of type transaction. And the response which will come from the CTRR, it will hold as transaction response. We look into it. This will be transaction timestamp. At what time you are creating, I have not added totally fine. Total how many resources you have included. You can include it totally fine. I want to talk about the interesting part link. Whether this bundle links to another bundle, which is I have not seen in my 11 years. If you find that as a concept, please feel free to use link. I am more interested to tell you what is this entry. This entry is the group of resource object. What is this resource object? Any resource which you want to bundle or group within the bundle resource. Now, very important part. There are a couple of things which you need to know for this bundle thing. Entry. How do you write entry? It is very simple. It is 0 is to star. I added a square bracket. Now, this is complex. Based on how it is defined, I added a flower bracket. Now coming inside, I didn't want this. Full URL is very, very, very important in the bundle concept, and you need to understand this. What is full URL? FHIR says this, I need to make it then language as none. Full URL is referencing mechanism. Another way, guys, whatever referencing, I have told you that creating one resource at a time, nobody is doing it in the real-time scenario that you create one resource, get the logical ID, then create a second resource, then create a logical ID and refer it in the resource. Not like that. They are always working on bundle resources where they are grouping it, and when they are grouping it internally, only they are saying this resource is referencing to this resource. How they are doing it? I will tell you the mechanism. This is a full URL is a referencing mechanism. How it is created? The syntax is you need to have a static key as URL:usual ID and then a random generated grid. This is a random generated grid and it has to be unique within the bundle. This entire combination has to be unique within the bundle. And now talking about the second attribute. It is saying resource and it says resource again, a resource in the bundle. Out of 145 resources, you can add anything and everything. In this case, I have added a document references source. You need to go to. The specification of this is not required. I can't remember. This is document references source. Go ahead, feel free to open document references source and populate a number of attributes which you want to populate. I just populated a base64 encoded PDF content. It's not even basic. I've just ended a random content. I will talk about this subject in just some time. Now, if I scroll down, there is a request method. This is also very important in terms of bundle. This is a request method. You need to tell that whatever you are doing in Postman, that you are doing a post. Your method will tell what is the method you are using. Yeah, will tell on what resource you are doing. Now there are different ways. If you want to do conditional update, you can add parameters here. Identifier is equal to KISS system pipe value. But make sure that that parameter should exist in your resource, otherwise it will fail. This is how you can do. This is a conditional post. If you're doing, I will do two things here, Ctrl G, Ctrl G. Now if you want to do conditional update, there is how you will do it. It will be put document reference considering identifier is populated. Identifier is equal to some system pipe, some value which is populated in your payload. I have a conditional post which is below. And I will show you. This is now, as it is entries, array of objects. I am creating another object within it and it is a patient. Now the same concept for URL, a unique GUID which will be created dynamically. Resource type, you know how to type a resource. I opted for patient. This is not required. This is a sample which I got. This is patient resource. I have populated patient going down. This is all the things coming from patient. Now the next thing, when you are done with the scroll back, when you're done with the resource, next thing you have is request, which you're opting for. Request you are going to create. It is a post you are saying URL on what resource you are doing to perform an operation. If you learned about conditional post or conditional create, this is how you need to write if none exists, and the syntax is also, this is not. I have given. If you just click, scroll down. If none exists, I have chosen from here. If none exists, it is a string and I know how to write a string. It is identify is equal to system pipe value. This will exist somewhere here. Now what is this full URL? We talked about. Patient is referencing to document reference via a subject attribute. If I double click on this, or I will do Ctrl F if I will. If I say count, is it 1 only? One second, this has to be the same thing. This is example created by someone. I don't want to showcase a bigger one because you will be confused. What is going to happen is the full URL which you are, for example, you want to say patient is referencing to document reference via subject attribute. The full URL of this patient resource will be exactly present here. If I just do Ctrl F now, it will be the same because I did it. Over here it is the full URL. That is why I said full URL is a way to refer one resource within another resource. And you can club a number of resources It is not only 2 resources. If you see the sample which I built here, this is actual sample from our code. You will find the full URL which is getting generated. For URL, this is our patient. You might find it is being referenced at many places. If I do next, there is a subject where it is referenced. There is another subject which is referenced, which is this. This is another observation and all of this. This is how you tell FHIR server that there are 2 resources which are referenced between each other and both of them are lying within the same payload. Now, if you just do control copy and if I do post, let's post it. I'm copying the same exact bundle. I think I did some manual task here, right? Somewhere I added something. Oh, not this payload. I added this. I can remove this and if none exists, this is. I'll copy this. I will control A. Even if there are errors, it is good. I want error to come because errors will definitely help you to learn more how to fix those errors. Now let's post it. And bundle resource. You can either put bundle here, but most of the time the bundle group of resources are always posted onto the CDR base URL. You can write, feel free to write bundle there, it will work. But if you don't want to write, this is the way you can post it to this endpoint. And here, as I said, the type is again. This is another resource which is again of type bundle. And as I said, it is a transaction response. What it is telling me that the first entry document reference it is created. Second entry, it is updated because if non-exist was there and it met that criteria, it has not created that resource itself. It already exists. If you want to know where it exists, this is the ID which is already there. Any questions on what is bundle? Or how did we generate this? I mean, I took a sample because we cannot generate it manually. It is huge. I just took a sample to explain you how it looks. And trust me, this is a sample which I will tell you one more concept which we explored yesterday and it was a learning for me. We created a sample via code and we need to explain this thing to a functional people because functional people might not understand XL, JSON and the relationship which the resource is holding between one resource and the other resource or one or more resources. If you see the size of scroll bar, it is huge. This is a sample which is generated out of ORU. ORU message coming from EMR, EHR. It is telling that these are the list of observations present for that patient. It is all relationships we have maintained within our code base. Now is there a tool? This is my new learning. You can find more tools. There might be more tools, but this is my learning. I will tell you the use case from where I'm coming. I was asked that I need to showcase this payload to someone. When we say to someone, my question was whether he's a technical or a non-technical person because technical people will be understanding this is and talking about the leadership folks who have 30, 40 years of experience. I don't think they will be liking someone showcasing them a GSRN or XML format. They will be with some diagrams. My initial thought process was I will use the PPT or a Visio. I will formulate that there is what my plan was. I will create a couple of boxes, something like this, that these are the list of. I will say this is patient resource, this is encounter resource, this is diagnostic report. And there is, let's talk about observation. Patient refers to, this patient refers to, this patient refers to, this patient refers to. I mean all of this. I will just put some arrows and I will try to showcase how that relationship is maintained. Then my thought process was how this is maintaining the relationship using what attribute. I thought I will write patient is referring to encounter using subject attribute. All of that, I will write it. XYZ things. And then I thought, oh, but let me just give it a try. That end goal I have it that if I don't find a tool, I will be having a PPT or a visual where I will do this thing. But luckily I found a tool which is a CleanFHIR. CleanFHIR is another website. They have a bundle visualizer. A good one. If you are seeing my screen, this is a bundle visualizer. I just added my bundle here. If you see everything is mentioned here, patient is referred by these considering diagnostic report. It says it is referred to patient via subject attribute a diagnostic. Let's scroll up. Diagnostic report also refers to organization via performer attribute. It is not FHIR is saying to refer. It is the payload which I have given. I just gave this payload to the CleanFHIR bundle visualizer and you can use the visualization what they've built to tell some non-functional people that this is the relationship we are maintaining. Where you can get this graph? It is a CleanFHIR. If you go to CleanFHIR and if you click on bundle visualizer, I just created one. I was showcasing the other example. There is a document reference. There is a patient resource. The two resources were contained within the bundle. Now, if you want to showcase someone, this is very small. You can build in your PPT or something else also. But if you want tool, there is a tool already. It is not a paid tool. It is a free, open source tool that you want to showcase that. I'm building two resources and document reference will be referencing patient resource via subject attribute. You can definitely use this. But if there is a concept where there are more resources, just like my OU sample where I built a FHIR resource out of it, there are, I think, around 22 resources. Then rather than building it manually and then showcasing the interpretation of who is referring to what, the tool is already giving you a provision to do it. Only drawback I found is the font size is pretty small. The example, the use case, what you showed, right, it is already prepared. I will not build it in front of you because it is again entirely new concept because I have to teach you Rhapsody. What are communication points? What is filter? I might have to teach you JavaScript. I will tell you what is the ETL module, what is example, or if you want LSEN to FHIR, we have already pre-built that data model or the code base. I will load it. I will send one transaction. I will not showcase how internal logic is working because that is totally internal to us. I will showcase that HL7 is sent. It will spit out FHIR resources. Is that for you? The major difference which I will see is only the input data which is coming. It is in this case HL7, here it is CSV. What I am going to do is I will be sending the data via Postman, your CSV file. For example, if there are thousands of rows, we can add thousands of rows here. Rather than sending this, I will be just sending a HL7 and the outcome we will only see FHIR, but I cannot show you the code base. To be honest, I cannot do it. I cannot show you the code base. I cannot show you anything. Only thing is see what is the difference. You think what will be available here and what will be available here. Understand my concept. It is a data which is going to come to you. Your work will be for Excel sheet. What is that you will do? Or very interesting. But I did share a conference page with you guys where the mappings are present because code base it is totally internal to the product. That thing I cannot show. If you want, I will just send one HL7 message and I will show you what is. I will just explain what is happening internally without opening the code. Let me show you the Confluence page. There is a Confluence page, right? I think this is the one. Whenever you will get a data model that you will receive a HL7 message, what is that you will do at the first instance? You will understand I will be receiving a SH segment, I will be receiving a PID segment, I will be receiving a PV1 segment and all the stuff. Then the second part, what you have to do, you have to build a map. First is what you will get. You understood that you will get MSH, you will get PV1. Now, second thing is build the mapping sheet. That is where we worked on this, or we call it as a toolkit. That is where the exercise which I gave you was very important, identifying the right resource. And moreover, the second page, if we talk about the second one, if I go back to the patient resource, if you know that PID works with patient, and I've already told you that basic mappings are already present, which will help you to kickstart. Now HL7 mapping to PID mapping. I cannot teach you coding. You might be good in Java. I have zero idea about Java because my 11 years have been in scripting. I have been doing Python scripting or Java scripting. I am good with scripting. Now you can work with Java, pass the HL7 message using HL7 libraries and figure out how to map it to the payload, then how to construct a JSON or XML or a turtle in Java. That is pretty easy. There is a JSON, objects libraries are available. Build it. Then how do you build it? It is the FHIR concept. Now you know the FHIR concept. Internal, behind the scene. That is what I will be also doing. If you want to see this, this is totally for you. I will showcase in and out to you. What I have done is, this is tomorrow. I will explain just the high level CSV file. Your ETL module, which you will work on through SmileLetter. It will receive a CSV file with huge number of rows. I will showcase you 2 rows. You can build a number of rows here. It will work. You can behind the scene. It will debatch 1 row at a time. And the header, you will, once the header is debatched, the mapping. If you want to see the mapping, I have done it in the JavaScript. This is the code I have written. If you ask me each line, I will explain you each line. I'm building a patient object. You know that I have told you that within this object resource type, we will always build as patient, which is hard-coded. And you can build a bundle resource also. As of now, we are only working on demographics. I am building the patient resource. Here I am building the identifier. I can create also. I can build rhapsodies. I mean very close to me. I can build anything, everything here. The answer is, just like I built it in JavaScript, I can perform the same operation in JavaScript also what you want. Here Rhapsody provides. I have already showed you a mapper. Let me see if something is already there. See, I think it goes to documents. This is the Worry self-mapper file to export local definition. Let's see. If this opens, then I think it will be easy. Beautiful. This opens. Let's see, it will take some time. It's a huge code. Just an example. I found one mapper where we are receiving FHIR and we are building a HL7 out of it. Rhapsody provides a provision. There is a filter. you can definitely do the same script in JavaScript also. This is a JavaScript filter. You can pass the entire JSON within this, but there are chances that you might do a typo here and there. Rhapsody provides a provision which is known as a mapper, where you can provide input schema and output schema. And I have already told you these schemas are either. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.